What if I told you that as a PA, you could go from 0 to a millionaire in 7 years flat with a single income? In this video, I'm going to walk through 3 steps that will take you from where you are now to millionaire in 7 years flat. I'm Kristen Burton. I'm a critical care PA and the founder of Millionaires in Medicine, and I became a millionaire PA at 31, and so I know firsthand that these strategies work. Before we dive into steps 1, 2, and 3 to get you to the millionaire mark, make sure you go below, click the link to join the Millionaires in Medicine Club for free if you're not already there. We have live trainings twice per month to take you through the financial education you never got in school so that you can maximize your money. Now, let's dive in to step 1. The first step is to get your income at your main job across the 200K mark. Now, if you're looking at me like I have 5 heads, this is quite possible. Actually, data from Merit Health shows that 1 in 14 PAs earns over 200K per year. Now there's key things you need to know about who earns 200K so you can figure out how to get yourself across the mark. The first thing to look at is, of course, the specialty that you're in. Dermatology, critical care, cardiothoracic surgery, and PMR are top specialties that have high percentages of PAs actually earning above 200K within them. Now that might be interesting data, but this is what I actually find more interesting. When you look at within specialty variance in pay for PAs, the top 3 are dermatology, plastic surgery, and psychiatry. So this means that while you may find, for example, a psychiatry PA earning at the median income for PAs overall, you also see a huge spread, and we see PAs in that subspecialty crushing it with money, and some PAs who are very underpaid. When you're in those specific fields, if you're at a low-paying job, the answer may not be to change specialties. The answer may be to leverage your clinical skills and experience to move into a different job in the same specialty that will pay more. And the fact that the specialty has a really high variance in pay range tells you this is quite possible. The next key point to understand is your contract structure really dictates the likelihood of you crossing the 200K mark. Now, it is possible to do this with a salaried position as a W-2, but the statistics say the likelihood of that is less. Only 5% of salaried PAs cross 200K. So who does? It's really PAs that are earning percent of collections or RVU-based models. Essentially, the productivity or eat what you kill model tends to have a higher upside, where high percentages of PAs with that structure end up crossing 200K. For example, PAs earning a percent of collections model have over 30% of them earning $200,000 a year. That should tell you that strategic choices in both your specialty and your contract structure of the job that you're willing to take will dictate the likelihood of you crossing that mark and joining the 200K club. Now, geography is a factor as well. Of course, there are areas where far more PAs earn 200K than others, specifically like areas in California. But don't be fooled by just the numbers. Cost of living index matters a lot. There is a big difference between earning 200K in San Francisco and earning 200K in Idaho, right? Huge cost of living change. And so keep in mind, when you're comparing salaries in different cities, you need to actually look at a cost of living calculator online. There's a bunch of free ones to figure out, am I actually earning more, or am I taking a pay cut despite a bigger number because my purchasing power is less in that area? Okay, so step 1, cross the 200K mark with your primary job. Step 2, earn $50,000 per year utilizing high leverage side hustles. Now, before you go, whoa, impossible, what kind of side hustle earns $50,000 a year? I'm going to give you lots of examples and some examples of folks who have actually earned twice that or more utilizing these side hustles. Now, interesting data from Sermo, 39% of PAs actually already have a side hustle, but over half of them wish they did. So if you're in the over half that wishes you had a side hustle, listen up. Even if you already have one, these ones may earn you more money for less time spent. The first is speaking for the pharmaceutical industry or a medical device. This type of position is really heavily driven by networking and exposure to pharma overall. So if you're in a practice and you have pharmaceutical representatives of any role that serve your group, taking the opportunity to show interest, to professionally network, to show yourself to be a data-driven clinician who's passionate about what you do and not a punch the clock kind of person will put you front of mind when something like this comes up. I also find if you want to get into this space, a simple heads up to your pharmaceutical contacts of, hey, I'm interested. If you hear of anything or if something comes up in the future, keep me in mind. That goes a long way. So why take this type of position? Well, first off, it's incredibly flexible and the hourly rate that you'll earn is much higher. The structure will vary depending on your contract, but it's often possible to have a roundtable structure, which is usually a more informal conversation over maybe lunch or coffee with medical professionals about your device or drug, a formal dinner presentation, which you all have been to, right? Usually at a nice restaurant where you actually give a slideshow presentation and give a brief talk. And then sometimes there's even other opportunities beyond that. It is very common for the hourly rates for these things to exceed $500 an hour. And you may, in fact, even earn $1,500 or $2,000 for just a 2-hour event in the evening. It's really a win-win. If you're someone who's thinking an MSL career transition in the future is an option for me, this is a great way for you to get industry exposure. If you're someone who just loves to network, loves to talk about medicine, and also wants some good free food in the interim, there's not a lot of downside here. Most of these contracts will cap what you can earn in a year. Some are, 30 to 50,000 annually, but you can usually do as many or as few events as you want, which makes this a very, very flexible side hustle. The actual work you will spend is really front loaded. Once you learn your slide deck and you get really comfortable with your drug or device, the preparation for each event is really focused on just learning the people. This is one of those side hustles where you might go, hey, how am I going to earn $50,000 a year if you said my contract could be capped at 30? Well, I know pharmacists who have actually stacked multiple speaking gigs on top of each other and are earning 6 figures a year just from speaking for pharma outside of their regular job. So this is a very lucrative opportunity and an easy way for you to earn an extra $50,000 a year. If you're not into that, look into expert witness work. This is something where you would discuss in the legal system whether or not a PA, usually a PA, was in alignment with the standard of care when a case goes before a medical malpractice. Now, usually I'll say PAs because typically the structure is that physicians review physicians and PAs review PAs, not always, but often. And so a lot of times if you're pursuing this as a PA, you'll be reviewing cases where a PA was involved. Now, again, getting started in this involves a lot of networking, but the hourly rates can be very, very high, exceeding $500 an hour. Many of the things that you can do are able to be done from home. So if you're reviewing medical records, hospital charts, etc., oftentimes that can be done at home. Anymore, even depositions are more and more common virtual post-COVID. And so, of course, there's the opportunity that you might go to trial, but this can be a very flexible and often remote side hustle that allows you to leverage your clinical expertise in a different way, which kind of prevents burnout. Again, I know physicians earning multiple 6 figures a year doing this. And so if this is something that you're interested in, it can be a very high dollar side hustle for you that allows you to maybe do a lot of it at home flexibly. And this can be great, for example, if you have kids and you're trying to figure out how you would add additional childcare. This would prevent that from being a necessity. The next is hosting CME or CE. Now, this can be done a wide variety of different ways. It's very easy for a medical professional to do this online because the cost of starting something like this will usually be under $10,000 by the time you create your platform, put together your offering, and purchase your ability to provide CME credits. You can, of course, host a conference, but the overhead is a very, very different situation for that model than posting something online. Now, this is an interesting model because once it's done, it can become semi-passive. Of course, you have to market it. And so you'll have to have some type of marketing modality that you use in order to send traffic to your page. But once you've created this, it can move into the semi-passive space and you can easily earn $50,000, if not way more, if you become a good marketer and you utilize this structure. So easy way for you to generate $50,000 a year additional with side hustles. Now, notice I did not say, please pick up enough shifts to earn an extra $50,000 a year. These side hustles are intentionally mentioned because they are less likely to contribute to you burning out and more likely to use your clinical skills in a more flexible and fun way rather than just like go nose to the grindstone, work an extra 12-hour shift at the hospital. Now, how does any of this stuff make you a millionaire, right? All we've done is take an average earning PA and convert them into someone making $250,000 a year across W-2 job and side hustles. This is where the juice comes, right? So step 3, maintain a 50% investing rate. Whoa. So 50% investing rate. That means of the $250,000 that you earn, you invest 50% of the gross, so $125,000 a year. Seems impossible, but in fact it's not, because remember that you started this as an average earning PA, which means what you have left to live off of, investing 50% of $250,000, is really not all that different than what you had to live off of earning a median salary, investing a little bit after taxes, right? So this is actually very feasible and does not require extreme frugality. That's why we went through the increasing income part first, so that when we backed into invest 50% of income, we don't end up in a situation where we're living on beans and rice and staying in a tent in our parents' backyard. That's not the goal. But if you do it this way, you're actually able to have a really high dollar annual investment amount and still have a nice amount of money to live off of. So here's what happens. You can start with $0 invested, invest $125,000 a year for 7 years. You wind up assuming an average return of 8% with $1.2 million. Very exciting, right? You just went from starting out as a PA to becoming a millionaire in 7 years. And this was not by some like weird get rich quick scheme of like, if you have, $2,000 and you start this drop shipping store, like this is not anything crazy. This is you intentionally increasing your income, having a high investing rate, and becoming a buy and hold investor, likely of low cost index funds and ETFs, right? This is nothing speculative. This is you just creating an intentional path to millionaire as a PA. So why does this matter, right? What's the point of becoming an early millionaire? Why would you need $1 million invested? What does that gain you life-wise? Well, for one thing, you've likely hit coast fire at this point, probably multiple times over. So what that means is that in theory, by front-loading your investment portfolio, you could actually stop investing moving forward, or more likely, significantly reduce what you're investing in the future, which means you could either start traveling a lot more, living a lot more life in terms of what you're able to spend on that $250,000 income, or you could drop the side hustles, change to a lower paying job that maybe has a lifestyle that's more in alignment with what you want. There's so many options, and that freedom and flexibility that you get from front-loading portfolio is invaluable. Let me show you the math. If you land at 35 with that nest egg. So let's say you started this process at 28, you did this for 7 years, you got that $1 million investment portfolio 7 years in, so you're 35. You have 1.2 in the bank, right? You never contribute again, you never invest again. That amount alone will turn into $12 million by the time you're 65. Now, assuming you needed $5 million to retire and have an inflation adjusted same standard of living-ish, right? Round number, common math for a PA, that puts you well past coast fire, right? 2 times past coast fire, and maybe even just gives you the opportunity to fully retire early. Again, 3 steps to becoming a millionaire in 7 years as a PA. 1, cross the 200K mark with your main job. 2, earn $50,000 a year with high leverage side hustles, not picking up extra shifts. And 3, maintain a 50% investing rate. For 7 years, you'll go from $0 to $1 million invested in 7 years flat as a PA. It is entirely possible for you to build wealth on a PA salary. You just have to get strategic with an executable plan. Hope to see you inside the Millionaires in Medicine Club, where we can continue the conversation about how to earn more for what you do and maximize your money.